Syndicated Source Material.
What's up, everybody? Thought I would kick out a real quick special episode because of, well, it was inspired by last episode. Last episode I mentioned the inker of the comic was a guy by the name of Colonel Sanders III at the time when I was recording the pre-roll for the episode as well. I didn't know if Colonel Sanders was a play for some inker making a joke or if it was an actual person. It turns out that Colonel Sanders was actually a person. Colonel Jim Sanders, Colonel being a moniker given to him by his friends. So what I thought I'd do today is just real quick, maybe 5-10 minutes of a real quick background on the life and career of Jim Sanders. Nothing too in-depth. I just want to make sure I set the record straight that Jim Sanders was a prolific inker. Jim Sanders was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1963, and he enters the comic business in the 1980s. He works as an inker into the 1990s for various comic publishers. He gets the name The Colonel from his friends. His Facebook bio reads, freelance artist, formerly for Marvel and DC Comics, primarily an inker, but has done coloring and character design. Has worked with pencilers Ron Lim, Brian Hitch, Todd McFarlane, and Eric Larson. So you can see right there that he's got quite a career, going from the 80s into the 90s. And you've probably seen a lot of his stuff if you were collecting back then. What made me decide to kind of do this follow-up after I'd recorded the episode is after digging into, after finding out who it was first, and then digging into the life and career of Jim Sanders, I had found out that he had passed away, and he had ran into some pretty rough times in his latter years. In November of 2013, this was the first or second thing that I had found when I was doing my research, there was a call for help posted on comicsbulletin.com and other websites detailing how Jim had encountered health trouble and inevitably financial hardship. His daughter Jane had recently passed away from spina bifida in February of 2013 at the age of 21. And by the time of that post, his kidney transplant that he had undergone had failed, and he had continued to be on dialysis. The picture of Jim Sanders, just his profile pic on Facebook, his Facebook page, you can see that, physically he's got some ailments. He's going through some stuff. So 3 years later, in 2016, he sends out another message. Now, mind you, in 2013, they try to gather up some goodwill from the industry and people who read comic books and appreciated his work. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make much of an impact. I read a figure on one of the websites that it only gathered $455 total, which is really unfortunate. $455 is a drop in the bucket when you're comparing medical bills. He had been at this time, according to his post, living in a hotel and broke, essentially going to house of his children. So he's basically homeless. In 2016, he sends out another plea for help financially. He indicated that he had been divorced from his wife at that time, now living in a nursing home. But if you read some of the posts that were shared on Facebook, you can see that he's still hopeful for the future. However, November 20th, 2017, James Sanders III passes away. From what I had read, there wasn't any specifics about his passing. You could assume that it was health related based on all the trouble that he was going through. So I felt it important to kind of make sure I paid somewhat tribute to the man. Doing the research, I could see that he was a man that a lot of people respected. I could see he was a man who was trying to make a living all the way up until the end, just trying to get through all the trials that he had been put through. I came across Jim's DeviantArt page, and I would suggest, if you want to learn some more about the man, go to his DeviantArt webpage. It's deviantart.com/JimSandersIII/gallery. And there are some great pieces, some personal photos, and conversation between him and others from 2007 up to 2016. And it's a neat way to get a snapshot of the work that he did his interaction in the comments was fun to follow. Just people commenting on his work and his interactions with them. And some guy had commissioned a sketch from him at a con. That guy had commented on a piece of work that he did on DeviantArt, just saying how good it was. And Jim commented back and said, "Thank you. I didn't forget about the sketch that I owe you, and after surgery, I will take care of it." So, anyway, this is a quick bonus episode to kind of give you a look behind at the man. And the next time you see Colonel Sanders III down at the bottom of a 1980s/1990s comic, you'll have a better idea of who James Sanders III was. So we'll catch you here next week with a regular rerun. It'll be syndicated source material coming back at you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for joining us. Do not forget to subscribe to our new home by punching in W2M Network on just about any podcast platform to get all of our content into your audio feed. Also, give a like to the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network and W2Mnet.com Facebook page in order to stay on top of everything that we have to offer. If you'd like to follow the Source Material Podcast on social media, just follow at SourceMatCast on Twitter, and we are on Facebook at Source Material Comics Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to share. We look forward to entertaining you again soon.